Welcome back. Today we'll be going over the stuff that we didn't went over yesterday. So we'll come here in Anaconda, we'll go to learning, and we'll go to Python tutorial. We'll go over the reading. Alright, we already did chapter 2 with the interpreter, where we were here at chapter 3, An Informal Introduction to Python, and we made it all the way down here. I wanted to spend time with the arrays because it's very important. We'll also do the string functions as well. So we'll cover the string functions, we'll do lists, and in Python, my apologies, these structures that I have been calling arrays are known as lists in Python. They are considered arrays in C++. But let's stick to the proper naming conventions for Python. Alright, so let's start from the lists. Let's start from the string functions, then we'll go into the lists. Alright, so here we see strings are examples of sequence types and support the common operations supported by such types. They are string methods, they are formatted string literals, they are format string syntax, and there's also printf style string formatting. So we'll start up top and see what is there to learn here. Text sequence type, which is str. So that is literally what the abbreviation. Alright, so let's go. These seem like stuff that we've covered before. It says here that string types can have single quotes or double quotes. And here we can see that in here as well as here. Can also be triple quoted, whether it be triple by single or triple by double, which is straightforward. And so the triple quoted strings may span multiple lines. We've seen that's the best way to output a paragraph of text and keep the structure of the text. Whereas if you'd use the brackets, you'd have the string being displayed as one statement. So here when we have spam and eggs, when it's outputted, it will become spam and eggs. Let's put this to the test, however, because that might not be the case. Seeing is believing. Alright, so we'll come in here. We recently used this tab to learn. We'll go back on the home, and we've seen all these applications. We'll run another Jupyter notebook. Is you is or is you ain't my baby. We were in documents. Let's look for Python. Is you is or is you ain't my baby. Alright, here it is, Python learn. So this is the file that we were using initially. So day 2 of learning, this is what we did yesterday. We went over, well, we pretty much used the notebook as a calculator to document or pretty much to keep track of all our operations we wanted to do. We went over powers and the indices. We went over this, which is the plus and assignment operator. We went over the usage of the underscore to reference a previous value. We also went over the string escape sequence, which would be the front slash, and that is how you're able to have the colon displayed. We also saw that you can literally add strings together using the plus sign. Below here, and so not only can we add strings together, we can multiply how many times the string is displayed. And here is what we've been seeing, that you can use the triple quotes to output a body of text and have it maintain its structure. Yeah, we did some very important stuff. This is to be noted that for a string, even though you can access individual letters, you may not alter or modify the individual characters in the word. And we also learned that we may be able to use a sequence of a particular a portion of a given text. Even though we can't modify each text, we can output a portion of it using the block format, accessing starting from the third value moving onward. The empty indicates that you want all that follows after the third character, which would be word, which the word was third. We wanted everything after the third character, which was HON. That is the reason why HON is being displayed. We also came across the len function, which outputs the number of characters within a variable. And so that's where we left off. Yeah. Here we can see that while we aren't able to change the value of a given character string, we are able to change the value of an array. Sorry, my apologies, a list. So here we have the fourth value, which would be 4 plus 1, the final value being changed to 5. And yeah, so that's a quick recap of what we did. And we can also add values to a list by using the function append. So now let's go back to the documentation and go over the string literals. Alright, alright, so see string byte literals for more about various forms of string literals, including supportive escape sequences such as R, Ra. Strings may also be created from the object using the str constructor. Since there is no separate character type, indexing a string produces strings of length 1. Alright, so all this is saying that there isn't a difference between a single character and a string. They're both of type str, which is a string. So here we have a class which is str, and the object is an empty string. Return a string version of object. If the object is not provided, returns an empty string. Otherwise, the behavior of str depends on whether the encoding of error is given as follows. Neither encodings nor errors is given. returns type object str. Alright, all this sounds like it's saying is that because we have this str, the value that we're expecting to get back, the return value will be of type str. There's a lot of verbiage that is used in programming that may not be straightforward. Let's see. If neither encoding nor error is given, str object returns type object str object, which is the informal or nicely printable string representation. It's expecting a string, guys, a string. For string objects, this is the string itself. We are using all of this information to say that the string will be provided or returned. All of this. If object does not have a str method, I believe this might be the format for a constructor. This might be what this was saying up here. A string may be provided using a constructor method. Where was it? Yeah, here it is. Strings may also be created from other objects using the str constructor. I believe this may be it. Let's click on it to verify. Alright, str.self is called a str object and is a built-in function format and print to informal and nicely printable representation. The return value must be a string object. This method differs to object sp or object dot rep_r function if there is no expectation of the str return a valid Python expression. A more convenient or concerned representation can be used. By default implementation defined by built-in type object calls. My friend, this is the constructor. I don't know why programmers or people who write technical documents don't use English to get across what they're doing, but this is an unnecessary amount of loops. Most functions in Python, when you're referencing self, it's referring to a constructor like a statement, and because we have underscore str, this is what leads me to believe that the statement up top is referring to the str constructor. Constructor is just a function, I'd say, or a specialized function that initializes the values for a method. All right, let's move on. If at least one of the encoding, we won't be doing any of this. This is a bunch of technical hooey. All we wanted was to see the string methods and understand why they work as the way they do. This is not English. I'll be warned, guys. Some of these stuff, before you can get a objective result, you may have to do more research just to get across. But in order to save time or get on with the show, we'll move on. Passing bytes objects to str without encoding or error arguments falls under the first case of running the informal string representation. C-B command line option to Python. For example, b zoot. Alright, so if we say str b zoot, the output that is returned is b zoot. Let's run this. Is you is or is you ain't my baby. We'll click M outside of this to create the markdown. And our topic for today will be strings. String. Let's call it working with strings. Working with strings. We hit shift and enter, and then we paste what we had initially. Shift and enter. So we end up with B zoot. Here I can see the exclamation mark as well as if we were to change this and we'd control X, control, if we were to remove this, control X, and we'd try to print that value, we end up with B zoot. And if we have control Z, str, the only, I'm trying to see the difference between the two. The difference that I see is that we get exactly what's outputted using the print function, whereas with the str function we end up with quotes, double quotes to be exact. Alright, moving on. We'll close that off. Alright, so here are some of the cooler functions that we have been waiting for. But let's not skip the contents or the pre-contents. It says for information about the str class and its methods, see text sequence on the, yeah, we won't do that. And the string methods section below. Yes, this is what we'll do. And see the formatted string literals and format string syntax methods. We may just do all of these. Yeah. Let's see. Alright. So strings implement all of the command sequence operations along with the additional methods described below. Strings also support two styles of string formatting, one providing that small arm.
10 life skills you should.
Interesting. Yup. Let's go back. Where was I? Alright, so we'll go with the first function we have up here. Hold up. Text processing services. The text processing services section of the standard library covers the modules that provide various text related utilities including regular expressions, RE module. Regular expressions would be their own thing, but summary of what regular expression is to have text represent a format that you'd want your strings to be moduled into or formatted as. For example, a phone number, you'd probably just enter in digits, but because you want it to have the final output version be with space in between them, you'd use a regular expression. Alright, so let's go over the first string function, which would be capitalize. It says it does what the name implies, return a copy of string that the first character is capitalized and rest lowercase. So only the first character will be capitalized. Working with strings. Alright, let's think of a land, a beautiful land. Let's call it nation. And that will be called Belize. Yeah, nation, Shan. Uh, alright, so Belize. It's all the first character is already capitalized. We'll have to replace that. Yeah. Our next line will be nation. That capitalize. There we go. That was implemented incorrectly. Or I spelled it wrong. No D. Here we can see the first letter being capitalized. So let's do something that's even more fun. Uh, let's have a number of items. Let's say, let's change this from nation to nations, and we'll change it from a string to a list. Control X. So we have Belize. We'll throw in Mexico in there because it's right beside us. I won't put in Guatemala for bias reasons. Uh, well, not bias, for legitimate reasons. I'll do Jamaica. No, I'll do Puerto Rico. And what I'll do is I'll create a function, or I'll run the loop that says for nation in nations, let's do nation that capitalize. Let's see if that works. Then at the end of all of this, what we want to do is we want to print we want to print the nations. And all we are doing is we are taking all of these values, we'll capitalize them, and after it has been capitalized, we are going to we're going to output it. Let's see how this works. Alright, so we can see the output of nations is still the same. And I think that would be because we did not assign the value to nation. And what I'm saying is this: we capitalized the value, but we did not store it. So you'll have to say, we'll have to say something like this. We'll have to say nation which is that individual value, nation is now equal to the new value, which is capitalized. Still no result. Wonder why. Alright, so we're referencing each one of the values. Oh wow. Let's do this. Let's see what value is being inside each one of those. Here it is. So I can see that while we're in the loop, the value is being capitalized. Well, the first letter is being capitalized, and interesting. But when it comes out, the value isn't stored. Alright, so at least you can see what I was trying to execute. I wasn't able to have the value modified by the list, modified in the list. But this is what we were trying to do. My goal was trying to get all these capitalized values in the list, which would be nations. And I said for nation in nations, which is the variable, so I'm saying for each one of these values, I want to capitalize. Yep, yeah. Alright, let's move on. So we can also do case fold. It returns a copy of a string. Case fold string may be used for caseless matching. Case folding is similar to lowering for lower casing, but more aggressive because it is intended to remove all case distinctions in a string. For example, the German lowercase value is equivalent to SS. Since it is already lowercase, lower would do nothing to case fold. Wow, case fold. Alright, let's see how this is implemented. There isn't any other documentation. So what we'll do is we'll create a text. Let's use nation index of 1, index of 0, and we'll do case fold on that. It's already in lowercase, so that will not change anything there. But let's see if we save nations as that. Then we come back here. Yes, yes it is. So we can see that it was changed to capital here, and the case fold changed the value from uppercase to lowercase. So case fold and lower are quite similar in the operation that it performs. And just to show you what the lower function does, let's do Brazil equals, then what we'll do, we'll run this shift run, we'll say Brazil is equals to Brazil dot lower. Then we'll just call Brazil once more. I'm not seeing a value being printed. If not, I'll have to use the. Alright, so there it is. The lower function and the case fold function does the exact same thing. It pretty much changed the first character into a lower value. Center returns centered string of length width. Alright, let's see how this works. I am going to center. Alright, so the center function, it uses a width, returns center in a string with length width. Padding is done using the specified fill char, which is this. Default is ask a space. The original string is returned if width is less than or equal to length. Alright, so I have two things I'd like to do. I'd like to run this cell and see if I get interesting. The cell is not being activated. Let's see. Alright, so I can see this, the empty spaces are adhered to. So now if I do Brazil dot center, see if I can do this. Or If that won't output, I'll create a new variable. And I'll call that variable it says Brazil center is not defined. Let's do this. Interesting. If I remove the center, seems I may be having some errors with my ID. No, it's not. Something is not right. Yeah, something isn't right. Let's do this. Hmm. It would be something that I'm doing up here that isn't within the parameters of center. No, this is working. Hmm, interesting. This time it ran. Let's see if we can change this value from 2 to, let's say, 6. Let's do 5. Let's see if I can do this. I see a value being outside, then I see a square bracket. Let's do, and I start. In all honesty, I can't see what the center function is doing. I was hoping it would have take the string and center it, or at least center the values within the string. It says returns the string of length width. The original string is returned with less than or equal to lns. Alright, let's see if I can. It says it will produce strings that are less than or equal to the strings mentioned. When I entered 1 for Brazil, I still got all of the characters, so I'm not seeing why that. Let's do this. Let's go to W3 schools. Here we see it being implemented. So we have a normal text, then we center it with 20. So what happens when we change that value to just 2? Alright, it's official. The center will have the value being placed outside of the parameter. Well, it will pretty much create a space from one side of the. Well, let's go back here. It's been an hour, more or less. And we are still going over the strings. We're able to go over how many functions so far. Went over one, two, three. Let's see. They are a lot. So instead of factually coding now, we'll be forced to take in the. I'll pick a couple of those, the ones that I think you might be able to use the most. In total, they are a lot. I know you may ask why you'd need so many functions to work on strings, and it turns out when you'll be working with perhaps a data frame, you may need to modify cells in a variety of ways, and that is when you'd be able to use some of these functions. Wow. All right, let's start from here. We already saw what lower does. Upper pretty much capitalizes the first value. Let's see what this does. All right. So I had closed the Jupyter notebook that I had. So I have to open it again. All right. Let's do the find. All right. It says it returns lowest index in the string where substring is found within the slice. It would be nice if these were given snippets of code as well. It says the find is only used if you must find the position of the substring. To check if it's in the substring, you'd just use the pi in Python, and then it would return a bool. All right, let's see if we can do this. Let's do this. Let's see how it's implemented on W3 School. All right, here we have the entire text that is used, and we want to find welcome, and it's located at the 7th index. So that's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 is where the W starts. So that's actually correct. Alright, moving on. We have the format. Instead of going through all of these, I think it would be, let's read it, because here we can see that the curly brackets are used within the string itself. It says if you use the format,